If you've ever spent an evening panning for gold within the river Styx that is Nexus, you're probably aware of just how vast the game modding scene can be. Any wish your heart desires is at your fingertips and ready to be downloaded, whether that's a tiny pixel art outfit for your Stardew farmer or lesbian Morris. Modding culture is not new, and it's not so niche these days either, but it has grown rapidly over the past decade, thanks to more learning resources becoming available for both modders and downloaders, as well as an obvious increase in game sales altogether. You can find millions of lovingly made pixely projects across the web. Among the most popular titles to mod are 3D epics like Skyrim, Elden Ring, and Baldur's Gate 3, some good old-fashioned post-apocalyptic shooters like Fallout, and gorgeous indie duckling Stardew Valley. I think we're all well aware that Stardew has more than earned its place among its million-dollar budget sisters here, but you can't deny it stands out a little bit. With over 28,000 available mods and 705 million mod downloads so far, it's pretty damn clear that people enjoy settling down with a recolor or two after a long day. Stardew's modding community has remained vibrant and active, even 10 years after the game's release, and I think that's no coincidence. Creating a project that's truly customization friendly isn't as simple as it seems, and it takes a bit of intentional building. Well, that and practicing acceptance. Today, I want to talk about the thriving mod ecosystem of Stardew Valley and what Concerned Ape did to cultivate it. Let's get crackin'. Now, there are two general components for completing pretty much any task there is. Those are tools and motivation. In the case of modding, tools can be a wide variety of things, from the most literal interpretation of a computer and a given software to more abstract things like learning resources and skill. Stardew has built-in advantages here for ease, since it can run on almost any computer, including my piece of shit Lenovo Yoga that heaves like a backyard-bred teacup Frenchie, and it uses pixel art, which is a somewhat beginner-friendly medium. I say somewhat because I've been trying to learn pixel art for a while now, and I keep wondering if maybe Amish life is right for me. There are also plenty of options for cheap or free pixel art software that's intuitive and not quite as daunting as 3D modelers. The more accessible you make the materials for any given art form, the more people are willing to give it a chance, and Stardew has a great basis for that. The game is coded using C#, which has a wealth of tutorial media up for grabs too, if you needed to learn how to code. Those points about accessibility could be said for many games, though, especially in terms of indies. Stardew's array of resources stands out because of the community that comes with them, and how they've worked together to make them easier to use. The vast majority of Stardew's mods require one or multiple framework mods, which work in the background as a foundation for everything else you download. They can act as structure or as third-party mediators of sorts, helping you to avoid conflict between mods and connecting mods to the base game. SMAPI, the Stardew modding API, is probably the single most well-known, as it's what actually loads in your mods. Without SMAPI, you have your base game and your new files, and they do not know each other. They're strangers, they're two ships passing in the night. They could have had something. Maybe one day. The mod loader is our couples counselor that brings things together tearfully after hard work and soul searching. SMAPI was developed by modding hobbyist Pathos Child, aka the patron saint of Pelican Town, and is entirely open source. Countless hours have gone into the tedious upkeep for this program, as well as his others, namely Content Patcher. Content Patcher is one of the most vital tools for Stardew modding, both in general practice and because it simplifies the mod making process. Content Patcher is also a mod loader, but it functions under the wing of SMAPI. Sorry, I know I'm saying Content Patcher a lot, but do you want me to abbreviate it? Because I don't really want to. I'm sure you know this, but mods are just editing a given game's files, telling it to behave a certain way that's different from the vanilla version. Without Content Patcher, modding Stardew would require you to have some programming skills, which takes some time and effort to build up, of course. Content Patcher instead allows you to load content packs, which are much simpler to edit and play around with, no programming experience necessary. This takes out a lot of the fear and commitment that comes with taking on your first mod project. Everything is neatly organized, and the modding process is demystified. This bridge invites new modders who might otherwise be too overwhelmed with beginning to give it a try, and that's all thanks to one person taking the time to simplify the task. Content Patcher isn't the only one of these tools either. There's alternative textures, fashion sense, portraiture, whatever you want to make, no matter how large or small, someone has made it easier for you. These frameworks make a world of difference, but ultimately, you still need to be taught how to use them. Guides are fantastic, and there are plenty of in-depth ones available on the Stardew wiki, but the community's willingness to help each other is what makes or breaks the experience. If a modding space isn't welcoming, it's gonna scare away a large portion of users who just need a bit of advice and some patience to get past a bump or two. Technically, nobody owes anyone that kindness, but at the same time, don't we? What do we owe to each other? Get the philosophy textbooks out, let's talk about it. Actually we don't have time for that. But feel free to think about it really hard before you go to bed tonight. Luckily, from the Stardew forums to the official Discord to the Smappy subreddit, there seem to be quite a few people who are genuinely willing to lend a hand. No corners of the internet are perfect, of course, but as cliche and surface level as it is, it takes a village. We've been teaching each other hobbies and crafts since the dawn of time. We learn best by consulting someone who knows their shit. That's a source of motivation, too. Connecting with your community, hearing their feedback, and having something to present that you made. Intrinsic motivation also plays a big part. Obviously, you want to see whatever it is you're creating exist, but external support truly does mean the world. Art is and always has been a method of communication, and it's nice to get a response. Healthy mod ecosystems can crop up totally on their own without the blessing of the game's developer, and often do. In the case of Stardew, though, I think this niche flourishing in the way that it has was a result of thoughtful choices, mostly because of how Concerned Ape has approached the game's fanbase starting from the very beginning. We all know by now that the Valley was a one-man job. Eric Brony was in charge of every detail without a team overseeing any of his production. During the development process, Eric was very active on his blog, where he posted consistent, detailed updates on the progression of the game. If you're ever in the mood to sigh wistfully, you can go back and read his progress entries that basically catalog Stardew's creation from start to finish. I personally think it's pretty cool. The entries act as a living timeline of Pelican Town improving and growing. But it wasn't just Concerned Ape talking to himself. He was actively asking for feedback, questions, and suggestions from those excited about the project. He let future players vote on marriage candidates, had a direct email to reach him with, and kept communication open and constant. Keeping fans in the loop and listening to their thoughts is the best way to build a strong relationship with them. If you want passionate people to swarm your game, signaling that their passion won't be disregarded is a great way to attract them. There is a delicate line to walk with this. Maintaining your own creative grip can be hard with an audience, especially one that is so close to you, but the tightrope balancing act was kinda worth it here. Stardew's development was a labor of love, both for the game itself and the emerging community. It was a show of mutual trust to let people in that way. That is one of the biggest themes in modding as a whole. No matter the situation, a dev giving their blessing to modders is a show of trust. Not trust that nobody will do anything weird with it, that would be unrealistic, but a loosening of control. It is having enough respect for the players to say, this is yours too, and you can do what you want with it. In practice, it doesn't really matter if permission was given, to be honest with you. Modders will find a way, but to give it is a gesture of good faith. It's allowing your community to collaborate with you, seeing them as people with personalities and wants and not nameless consumers you're pushing a product to. Clutching an IP to your chest and beating people with a cast iron pan when they try to touch it makes it seem like you see your audience as incompetent. To be fair, it's not like there's no pretense for that approach. I mean, there are some weird mods out there and some shit you wouldn't want associated with a brand. The secret is, though, if you'll come close, okay? This will always happen. There's no way to stop it. It's kind of akin to Dare. Do they still do Dare? If you're Gen Alpha, let me know if they still do Dare. Anyway, you have just made every teenager want to smoke weed and do it in a Dare t-shirt. People don't really like to be treated like idiots, let alone told what they can and can't do. Mods will probably outlive us all, no matter how many DMCA takedown notices Nintendo wants to shill out. Concerned Ape didn't just wave his hand and say what the hell sure either. Eric has made a continuous effort to be mindful of the modding community and provide any support he can as well. He keeps in contact with mod makers when new updates are releasing to help avoid or warn about potential compatibility issues. He has patched the game multiple times to fix mod breaking errors, and he's good about expressing his appreciation and excitement for the scene. His engagement and willingness to make the game friendly for developers is a show of care that you don't see often. The content updates themselves are proof of this too. Adding new features is beneficial to him, absolutely. It keeps people discussing Stardew and that brings in more traffic, but he could stay afloat without doing any of this extra work. It's a choice and it's a gift. As Stardew Valley has grown over the years into the behemoth it is now, the team behind it has also grown to include a few helpers. One of the members of that team might be familiar to you. Stardew Valley Expanded is the Princess Diana of our day and age, pretty much. If you sought to mod your game, it was likely one of the first downloads you reached for. Expanded's massive selection of new features, including NPCs, regions, items, and storylines, basically acted as a new game in and of itself. It's one of the most mind-melting displays of passion and care I have ever seen in a mod. This project was a lot of fucking work, that much is clear, and it paid off. Stardew Valley Expanded is beloved on an unfathomable scale. The developer of SVE, Flash Shifter, put blood, sweat, and tears into this. Probably mostly tears if I know anything about making something. I don't have to explain any of this to you probably, which is good because it's sort of impossible to articulate just how big this mod's impact was. So big, in fact, that Flash Shifter became an official developer at Concerned Ape LLC. In 2023, FS's car was stolen, and with nothing to fall back on except Stardew Valley Expanded Patreon subscriptions and mod donations, they fell into a hard spot. As fate would have it, along with Eric Brony himself, they happened to live in Seattle, and they decided to take a shot in the dark. They sat down for a meeting in his office and asked if he would be willing to hire them, with no expectations of getting a yes. In an interview with Games Radar, Flash Shifter said that Eric knew who they were, but they never broached the topic of a job because Eric is, quote, a guy who does everything himself. Which, you know, yeah, pretty much. In spite of that fact, only a few days after the meeting, Eric offered them a job, and they were officially credited as a developer on Stardew's 1.6 update. This is just a generally sweet story with an incredibly deserved outcome, but also a fantastic example of where modders fit into development culture. Modding is a great introduction into the game creation world, and there have been many examples of modders going on to break into the industry itself and create their own games. It's a hobby and it's a teaching tool. It gives people an in for a commercial sector that is very hard to break into. Of course, not every modder will go on to be a game developer, but it's a valuable skill to nurture no matter what. Mods themselves are, a lot of the time, a net positive for the title's parent company. They drive interest, keep people playing and talking about the game itself, and they build a stronger community to fall back on. It's symbiotic, and while I believe that money is irrelevant in terms of treating your customers well, it does talk, and mods sure aren't hurting. Like any fan content, mods are transformative. They are the product of turning your love for something into a tangible creation, and that's a big part of how we express ourselves as human beings. Modding is one of the most diverse and unique art forms out there, with so many disciplines involved and so much versatility in end results. Customization and kinship breathe life into anything they touch. I like mods. That's a pretentious way of saying I like mods. Concerned Ape also likes mods. Stardew Valley fans like mods. I like seeing people create. Happy 10th birthday, Stardew Valley. Happy 10th birthday, Stardew Valley community. And thanks for letting me talk to ya. All of the mods shown in this video will be linked down below because you should go support the people who make them. Thank you so much for watching this video, I really appreciate it, and thank you so much to all of my members, your support means the world to me. I will see you guys next time. Stay safe, stay wonderful, and goodbye.